Good morning, Wednesday morning, middle of the week. Different music again. We kind of continue to go through this whole. What should we play? Oh, I'm not a fan of this. I just think to myself, it happens. Good morning. How are you? How was your week? It's been a week. Dr. Yu was our last guest last Wednesday. And the funniest part about this, and Dr. Yu's awesome. We're going to have him back on the show again. But the funny part about this was I did the show, for a lot of you that don't know, or if you follow me on social media, you probably do know, literally did the show, grabbed a piece of pizza. I don't think that was pictured on social media, and then headed to the airport. We flew to Asheville, North Carolina. My wife and I did. We did 4 days there in Asheville. Of course, you know I'm going to give you my review. Got to. It's what I do. We're going to jump in and look at the My-Snackies looking cam. There they are. That is Asheville. That's actually the hotel I stayed at, which I suspected when the last time we did the looking cam to Asheville, North Carolina. That is my hotel. It's the Kimpton downtown. Great hotel. Now, for those of you that know me, you know I'm really picky. I travel a lot, so I get a chance to travel and stay at hotels. And the Kimpton, again, dead center in that picture, the tall building. Definitely highly recommend. Great food. And here's the thing I was going to tell you about. I started talking about when we went to the Look-In Cam. By the way, it's the My-Snackies Look-In Cam. You've got graduations coming up and all kinds of things like that. Never hurts to have some snacks to bring with when you head to that graduation party. Go to my-snackies.com and enter that so that you can bring some cool freeze-dried snacks. The great folks at my-snackies.com and the My-Snackies Look-In Cam. Again, Asheville. Okay, so here we go. Hotel, amazing, incredibly cool hotel. If you want, and we've gone live, look up the Rob and Kristen show on YouTube. And so far, it's all videos about going to Fort Wayne to the airport, going to Asheville, and stuff like that. There'll be other stuff on there, including our show. But for right now, that's what's on there. But gonna tell you, I love the hotel. We got in late. I think we landed by the time we got to from the airport to the hotel. Gosh, it was probably 12:30, 12:45 in the morning. We had a extended layover in Atlanta, which if you travel, you realize just as much as I do that Atlanta is, of course, the busiest airport in the United States and in the world, and it is wall-to-wall crazy, but goodness, it was fun. It was fun going there, but it did a late arrival into Asheville. Weird flight. So the flight was weird because we were Comfort Plus. We were not first class, but we were Comfort Plus. So they called first class. Delta's gone to zone things now, which are whatever. It is what it is. Everybody's trying out something different. They tried the zone thing, and so they called first class, and this was the wildest thing. They called first class, and not a single person got up. And I was like, what in the world? And then they called zones 2 and 3, which I believe is anybody that's a medallion status higher than, I think it's like 360 or whatever it is for Delta. And then everybody got up and went, well, they ended up having 37 people no-show that flight. I've never heard of that. Don't know what happened. If there's somebody from Delta watching that wants to fill me in on that, that's interesting. I got to Asheville, though. I like Asheville. And Kristen and I take a lot of these trips. If you follow us, we take a lot of these kind of trips throughout the year. I will say Asheville, we kind of hit it right on. Biltmore was amazing. Kristen wants to go back. We're going to go back for Christmas some year, and it won't be this year. We've got other plans for this Christmas season, but um, we're gonna go back and do that. Asheville itself, I've seen it, done it. It reminds me of a small Seattle. There's a lot of drug use, a lot of stuff going on downtown, and we stayed downtown. But Biltmore, amazing. There was a video on our personal page, on Kristen and my Facebook page, not Facebook, on our YouTube page, about a place called Antler Hill Village at Biltmore. You need to check that out. So much fun. I've got a hoodie. Probably next fall you'll see on the show a Biltmore hoodie. It was very cool. Biltmore State, though, incredible. I mean, come on, people. How incredible was that? George Vanderbilt built it. Just you think of the depth to it. Just a lot of stuff. If you have not been, you need to try it out. By the way, today is National Sunscreen Day. Not here in Ohio. It might be where you are. It is not in Ohio. It is overcast today. It is crazy. It is cool. I'm wearing the shirt I really don't like, to be honest with you. I like it. This is a funny thing. Okay, so television, just to give you a little behind the scenes look at things in life. There are things you wear that you like in person, and then you see yourself on TV and you go, what was that? I don't know. This is one of those outfits. Anyway, hey, listen, I got to talk to you about this before we get to our guests today. The great folks at 7 Weeks Coffee. Listen, I've talked about it a lot. In fact, I've talked about it so much that probably you're getting tired of me hearing me talk about it. But there's no better coffee in the world. 7 Weeks Coffee. Whether you buy the light roast, the dark roast, here's the thing you should do. Before you order one, order the variety pack. Get all four. Get a chance to taste everything from the morning blend to the dark roast to the espresso. It's all things I love. You got to check it out. Go to 7weekscoffee.com. Use the promo code ATV10 when you order. Trust me, you will be so pumped about it. And it is amazing, incredible, and you will love it. 7weekscoffee.com. That's 7weekscoffee.com. When we come back, hey, we have our guest with us today. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Behind every precious life, there was a choice. Behind every family moment, behind every special memory, there was a choice. A life of joy. A life that is beautifully and wonderfully made. At 7 Weeks Coffee, we are funding the pro-life movement, one cup at a time. Will you let your coffee serve a greater purpose?
Hey, the great folks at 7 Weeks Coffee. That's 7weekscoffee.com. Use the promo code ATV10 when you order, and it is exciting. I'm super excited about this interview. It's one reason why we didn't have a complete week off, because I could have Marcia with us. Marcia, great to have you with us this morning. It is good, and for those of you that, and I want to say this when we get out of the gate, if you loved the Amanda Lawrence interview, which a lot of you have, in fact, one of the most popular interviews we've ever had on the show, then this is her aunt, which I did not know until after we booked you on the show, right? I think it was like soon after we had booked you, and Amanda goes, "That's my aunt." So that is so cool.
Yes, Amanda is she's a very precious woman. I adore her.
So introduce yourself to everybody.
Rob, let me tell you the most amazing coincidence this morning that you are not aware of. I grew up 20 miles from Asheville, North Carolina.
Really?
in the small town of Waynesville, which you probably saw signs for it, unless you were looking and not blinking. You may have driven past it. But yes, yes, I grew up in Western North Carolina in the beautiful Smoky Mountains, and very, very familiar with every place that you mentioned. My granddad was a stonemason in Western North Carolina. He was one of the most acclaimed stonemasons in Western North Carolina, and some of the beautiful stonework that you saw down there, retaining walls and just fireplaces. I mean, he probably had his hand in at least half of them, and yes, and it's interesting that you flew through Atlanta. My oldest son lives halfway between Atlanta and Asheville. And you could probably have driven to Asheville quicker than flying, and it is a beautiful drive. But yes, yes, that's where I grew up. So I'm so familiar with that area. I agree with your representation of Asheville 100%. But I have to recommend to you, when you go back down there, to go to Biltmore. Just down the street from Biltmore, about, I don't know, maybe a 10-minute drive at most, is the Cove. I don't know if you've heard of it, but the Cove is Billy Graham's training center, and it's where Franklin Graham houses Samaritan's Purse. A little shout out to them. But there's this beautiful, amazing garden, a prayer garden that Ruth Graham planted that you can walk through and pray. And it's tucked away in this world is this beautiful, beautiful oasis of heaven, if you will. And so it's just right down the street from that. And when you're coming out of the Cove, if you look across the highway and up on a hill, there's a hotel where I spent my wedding night with my husband of almost 48 years.
Wow. No, I did not know that part. We tried everything in our schedule, and to know my wife is to know she plans everything down to the detail. And that was one thing we did not get to do on this trip, was go to the Cove. And that was something we want to do. And probably when we go back for Christmas, we'll be on that time. It is an amazing, beautiful area, wonderful people. I will tell you this, and this is coming from somebody that is from Seattle. Downtown, they need to do some work on the homeless situation, and a lot of people who were openly doing drugs, which was scary. Not that I hadn't seen it before, because again, I'm from Seattle. We've seen it all. I mean, it doesn't faze us, but it was shocking in a smaller town. Amazingly good food, had a great and super friendly people, and we our big thing to do. And I love the influence that was there. Our big thing is we buy art, local art. So we found an artist who was actually Russian, who had, with her family, moved to that area in 1988. She was a young girl, moved there. And so her style, kind of an interesting style, a little bit Appalachian style, along with kind of a refined Russian style. And it was just it was a piece that spoke to my wife and I. It was funny because we passed by it looked at it 3 times and went, it's how you look at art and you kind of go, that's it. That's the piece. So, and there were so many neat things. I did not get to go, and I'm so sad. And shout out to the people that own it. I did not get to go to the pinball museum. It's $17, all you can play all day. Unfortunately, the day that was planned for us to go there, it was raining cats and dogs, and everybody else thought that was also a good idea. And so, but yes, if you're going to that area, I highly recommend the Kempton. Great people, great team, cool views too. The mountains there, and you being from there, you can tell our audience, the mountains there the depth is so interesting. It's different. Of course, I lived in the Cascades, being from Seattle, but a different feel to the mountains there, almost, and I don't want to sound too artistic because I'm not, but almost that the mountains kind of reflected the day. Sometimes they were moody, and sometimes they were brilliant and vibrant. So anyway, that's my Marcia. Marcia, that's it. That's all I got. I'm not artistic. I'm not like you. I'm not creative. So tell us about the new book.
Well, this new book is a real heart story for me. It Feeding Jesus Sheep: 10 Timeless Truths for Godly Service. And your coffee, your seven, what was it,
7 weeks coffee.
7 weeks coffee. They support pro-life. Well, for years, decades, I worked with an organization called Teen Mother Choices in Northern Illinois, and Teen Mother Choices International. We had classes in Canada at the time, and all over all the way down to Texas, which is where I'm at now. But I lived just outside the Chicago suburbs, halfway between Chicago and Milwaukee. And I worked for this organization, volunteered with Teen Mother Choices, where once the girls had their babies, we paired them with a mentor, and then we had classes for them, and we supported them, and we paid for their childcare. They've changed their format now, so it's quite a bit different. But after I don't know, 15 or 20 years with them, I was invited to give a talk to their board of directors on what does godly service look like? What does godly leadership look like? And so I was, at the time, my mother and dad lived in Ohio, which you're from Ohio. We have so many interconnections, Rob. It's just amazing. But my mother and dad lived in Northwest Ohio, just outside of Toledo. And my dad was very, very ill. And I was driving back and forth every week. I was teaching for Bible Study Fellowship International. And I was teaching on Monday nights. And so I would get up early on Tuesday morning to try to get through Chicago before the traffic hit, to get to my mom and dad's by noon on Tuesday afternoon. And I would stay with them until Thursday night or Friday morning, and then I'd make the trip back. And so during those drive times, which from Chicago to Toledo on a good day is 4 hours, on a bad day it's 6.5, I had lots of prayer time in that car. And I'd been asked to give this talk, and so I was praying, Lord, there's so many godly leaders in the Bible. Who should I speak on as an example of a godly leader? And the Lord kept bringing me to, well, first you have to define what a good leader is, so that they know the difference between a good leader, which anyone can be a good leader. There are a bazillion books and conferences to teach you how to be a good leader, and a godly leader. And so I was praying on that, and I'm like, okay, Lord, but who? What is my emphasis here? And the Lord laid it on my heart. Well, who was the most godly leader of all leaders? And that was Jesus. And so the Lord took me to the miracle where Jesus fed the 5,000 on the hillside. Well, we always focus on the miracle and the fact that he was feeding them spiritually in order to awaken their need for spiritual feeding. And they came to Jesus for what he could give rather than who he was. But the Lord opened my eyes to see this miracle as more than just Jesus at work with the multitude. He was training the 12 during this miracle to serve his sheep for the rest of their lives. And the first thing that he did was invite them into the impossible. You feed them, he said. You feed them. And I think that is the basis for a godly leader, is that Jesus invites us into the impossible. And then he says, you do it, but he tells us exactly how. And so I found in that miracle, which is one of the only miracles that is in all 4 Gospels, I found in that 10 principles, very beautifully laid out, that Jesus used and reinforced for the 12 disciples to feed his sheep forever. So I gave this little speech, this little talk to the board, 40 minutes or whatever it was, how those speeches go. And I kept thinking about it. And then my dad passed away, and then I resigned from Bible Study Fellowship. And then we moved to Texas, all in about a year and a half. And for some reason, this just kept mulling around in my mind. Oh, I could have said this. Oh, I should have said that. What if I'd elaborated on this? And so I started taking notes on all of it. And my little 40-minute talk became my little book, which has what, 200 pages in it almost. So it's those 10 principles outlined with a lot of my own personal stories, miracles that God did in my life, bona fide miracles, I believe, and through the women that I led in Bible Study Fellowship and Teen Mother Choices. I eventually landed on their board for a while. I've since resigned from that, and I'm still teaching, and but not with BSF. I'm teaching through my church and through Zoom. And these 10 principles, they're just like the foundation of, I do a lot of training. I train a lot of leaders to lead, and they are the foundation of what we can do. And it just amazes me how clearly and simply Jesus taught those 12. And we all have different learning skills. Some of us have to jump right in, learn by experience. Some of us can be told, some of us read it, some of us hear it. And so I think that Jesus did basically all of that with them that night, that evening.
I think that's so cool. And I think we talk about leadership a lot, but sometimes we don't understand the biblical side of leadership. Give everybody, we don't want to give them all of your secrets in your book, because we want them to buy the book. I mean, that's kind of
absolutely.
But give a couple of you talked to there are 10, right? So give everybody a couple, give them a couple teasers.
Well, I'd love to. Well, let me just start by saying that Sunday in church, this book launched in February, and so I'm still getting a lot of critiques from my friends who are reading it. My brother-in-law sat down and read the entire thing in one day. He and it's interesting because he's not a reader, and B, it's I totally out of his character, I think, for him to do this, but he gave me the most amazing critique that it challenged him and fed his soul. But yesterday I had a sweet woman at church who I have taught in one of my classes for 2 or 3 years now, and she's a darling woman. She's a school teacher. And she said to me, she goes, I was kind of hesitant to read your book because it's about leaders. Well, it's about servants. And she said, and I don't see myself as a leader, but she said, as I read your book, I realized every single one of us is called to do something, to serve or to lead. And she said, it was so encouraging to me. And that's my goal, Rob, is to encourage every single person in the church. God has given you a gift, whatever it is, a gift of hospitality. You should be the one standing there opening the door. You should be greeting the people, showing them to their seat. A gift of teaching, a gift of singing, a gift of accounting, the people who do the numbers. That's not mine. Organization, that's not mine either. But there are every single gift God has given us. The church is waiting for you to use it, and they are incomplete until you use it, until you step up. And so this book is for that person who is brand new in the pew and is sitting there looking at church and thinking, oh man, this place is running on clockwork. There is nothing I can add to it. It's to say to him or to her, you know what? There's a little something missing, and you have it. Otherwise, God would not have brought you here to this pew at this time. And so it's to encourage her that just get up, girlfriend, get up, sweetheart, just get up and take that next step and ask, where can I serve? Because I promise you, after your pastor picks his jaw up off his chin from someone asking, where can I serve? There will be a place for you. And it's also for that person who has been serving their whole life, and they're just feeling a little like, I'm not making a difference. You know what? You are, because without you, there would be a huge gap. And it's also for that person who's been serving. Every time the church doors open, they feel like they need to be there or nobody else is going to do it. It's to encourage them that there's someone else to do it. God never, ever intended for one person to do all the work. And there are tips in this book to help them find those people. And there are tips in this book for that person who's training that brand new servant how to do what they're doing. And it takes us all back to the basics. If we're burning out, it's because we've forgotten the basics. And if we're afraid to start, it's because no one taught us the basics. And so this book takes us back. And the very first principle is start with Jesus. If you don't have time to start with Jesus, you don't have time to start.
Whoa, and so I love that.
And it's not only just the devotion in the morning. We feel like, oh no, now I'm going to have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to start with Jesus. It's not that. It's just starting with Jesus in your heart, making sure you have the right motive, making sure you have the right call. And I do give you very, very clear guidelines to know, because that's what we're afraid of. What if it's not my call? What if I'm going to disobey? What if I'm going down the wrong path? And I give reassurance of how to know where God would have you serve, how he would have you serve, how you can tune your ear to hear his voice. You're a radio guy. I think you said you started with radio, or
I did.
remember the old radios, you had to tune the dial, and
Yep.
especially if you're driving through the mountains. Oh my goodness, I'm going to divert here and tell you a story. My daddy was diehard Detroit Tigers fan, and we were in the mountains on those curvy roads, just like this, back. I think the road that we were on is a portion of the tail of the dragon, so just round and round. And the Tigers were playing in just a pivotal game, and they were at a pivotal point. And every time he'd go around the curve this way, he could hear them, but when he'd go around the curve that way, he'd lose them. And it was getting late in the evening. He just finally pulled off the side of the road to listen to them, where he could get the frequency. Well, this is how it is when we start with Jesus. We have to tune our ear to hear his voice. And it's just like that staticky dial. We find the sweet spot, and then you know what? We have to pull off the side of the road and listen to it. We have to pause from all of the busyness. We have to tune out that cacophony of voices trying to get our attention, all the social media, all the news, all the podcasts, and we have to just park for a few minutes each day where we can clearly hear the voice of the Savior. And then as we begin to hear it, we begin to hear it easier and easier and more clear in more and more ways. He speaks to each one of us differently. Some people have heard an audible voice. There was only one time in my life that I heard the word of God so clearly that it could have been an audible voice, but I don't think it was, but it could have been. But we all hear him in different ways. We hear him in our spirit. We hear him in our heart. We hear him in our minds. We hear him through the Holy Spirit's conviction in our spirits. And so we have to learn. So start with Jesus. If you don't have time to start with Jesus, you don't have time to start. So back up and let the Lord readjust your schedule, because he will see to it that there is time to start with Jesus. And
Show
then
the book. Show them the book. So, because we're gonna have to go here in just a little bit, but show the book. Can you get it on Amazon?
You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at barnesandnoble.com, walmart.com. You can get it through the publisher, which is World Publishing and Productions. But yes, Amazon is the best. And leave a review. By all means, leave a review, whether it's 5 stars or 1 star. I need to know, because I do have another one in the works. So yes. This book is, like I said, it's for the beginner. It's for the seasoned saint, and everyone in between. It is going to encourage you. And also, it is a great book. I have study questions at the end of each chapter. It's a great book for your small group to do over the summer. There you go.
That's what I was just going to say. Marcia, it's been awesome having you with us on the show. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. I would love to come back anytime and chat about those mountains.
That's it. Hey, listen, where has the time gone? It's gone by way too fast. Another great addition, I think, of the morning break. That was awesome. I love leadership talks. I love that kind of stuff. Hey, listen, we appreciate you. We'll see you on Monday. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thanks for spending your morning break with us.